I'll try to record
Good.
All right, well, welcome back. So we had a great presentation that some of you may have missed in the first time block this morning. And our next presenter is a good friend of mine, Mike Reeves, known him for many, many years. I'm a big fan of Mike and the work that he does. So years ago, well, let me ask this question first. So how many security onion users do we have in the crowd? Good number of folks. Awesome. You guys are awesome.
You're awesome.
Oh, stop it. Here. So for folks using security onion, so anybody running onion salt? A couple of folks, I know. So the guy who wrote onion salt, this guy right here, Mike Reeves. So Mike wrote onion salt. I don't want to steal his entire talk, but out of his experience, running all of the massive NSM sensors for General Electric. We're talking about an organization with 500 sensors and like 5 petabytes of full packet capture, just crazy numbers like that, right? So this is a guy who knows his infrastructure, he knows how to make things scale, very good friend of mine. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Mike Reeves.
My name is Mike Reeves, Louisville Mountain. I've been doing security for a while. I work FireEye. I love Bro, and like Doug said, I have a lot of experience in large sensor deployments and high manual stuff. My current largest customer has, I think, 1,500 sensors deployed, with probably going to be around 7 petabytes of data. So, G is kind of smaller now. So I thought I had problems with 500 sensors, and it's nothing, right? So I'm big time into RC stuff. I'm really into drone racing right now. It's a big part of one of my mini quads that I have. I have a couple. It's very intense. It's a very fun hobby. Hopefully the people that keep flying and running through the buildings won't run into the rest of us. But it's a good time. And like Doug said, I'm a security contributor. So, do we have any Mr. Robot fans in here? Rich man. Okay. So we're going to talk about a company. We're going to call it eCorp. And this company, eCorp, has an interesting story. This is fictional, for the most, well, some ways. But before we get into this, we need to talk about the pyramid of pain. So, has everybody seen the pyramid of pain before? I would maybe on $1 for showing this slide. So, the pyramid of pain talks about how difficult it is to change things. So, we're going to talk a lot about TTP. We're going to talk about how the adversary changes its TTPs when you change your TTP. So you're changing ways to look for them, they're changing ways to own you, right? So keep this just in the back of your mind as we talk about it. So let's talk about this eCorp. So at this eCorp we had a lot of threat groups, if you want to call them that, interested in what we did. So when we first started looking, we said, you know what, let's take a look at the outbound. Let's go after that C2, right? Because that C2, they're sitting at their desk in some foreign country probably, and they're just clicking buttons because they've got C2. They don't need to do anything special. They say, oh, I want this file, and grab it. So we went after outbound access. We really pushed and got this. And when we did that, we got to see a lot of great stuff, right? We got to see different ways that threat actors were getting into our environment, a lot of the things they were doing. So we got an idea of their TTPs, right? So we started building that pyramid. We've got lots of information. So we used that and we sort of knocked them out, right? So we made it harder for them, right? You're not going to stop these people. Your goal is to make it harder for them and for it to be more expensive and to expend more resources. So then they said, you know what, we see what you did there. We see what you did there with the internet. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to attack your VPN. So then they went after VPN, right? And there's the multitude of ways they went after that. But, so what we did is we put network sensors in front of the VPN, and we were able to shut them out. So they said, okay, all right, I see that. So what we're going to do is we know you guys are cobbling up a bunch of different eCorp businesses, right? So at eCorp, they, some businesses had things they wanted, but they would go after other businesses that didn't really have that kind of stuff. So they would go after them, and they would say, you know what? I know these guys' security is bad, but they're all connected, right? right? So if I go where the security is not as strong, so we went really hardcore after Clouda movement. Well, then they're like, okay, you guys are catching us, right? You're catching us quickly. So then they're like third party. So it got to the point where eCorp would do product. We're going to buy this company, right? So we got really good at doing network detection, but we're going to buy this company. So what they would do is they read the press release, right? And they would go and own that company. And they would sit there for 16, 18, 24 months. They would own and just wait. Because they knew once it was integrated that they would get it up to the network, right? So as soon as that, I mean, it was like the second that connection gets open, a beacon goes out and says, hey, we can see what we want, and then they got to it, right? So, it was very, advanced from that perspective, right? So when you talk about persistence, they had a game plan that they were ready to execute as soon as that beacon came back. As soon as it did, they were in it. And then what we had was the DMZ, right? So then they're like, okay, well, we know you're catching on, so now we're just going to start owning your external infrastructure. This is a little bit more difficult. This takes 0 days. This is causing them to change and add new tools, and change their tools. Does anybody have Cold Fusion servers in their environment? So Cold Fusion is, if you don't know that and you put up sensors and you find them, they will know where your Cold Fusion servers are for you. So that's, so one of the things I want to talk about is they know your network better than you, right? So, you hear a lot of things from host-based folks that say, hey, we got the suite agent, put it on there. They know the machines that suite agent isn't on, right? They know that some guy in some building said, you know what, the internet's kind of slow, I'm just going to get a DSL and put it in here. And, I want to be able to get to it from my desk, so I'm just going to plug it into the network. They're busy, right? So, but they find it, right? So a lot of the rogue infrastructure would come from our buddies finding said rogue infrastructure for us. So, the other thing they know, and this is, I've talked about this a lot lately, is they know the typical value proposition for your network. They know, I gotta go get the budget, I gotta do all these things, right? And they know that where it makes the most sense for me to put protection is in my main data center, right? But there's a problem with that, right? You still have critical data at your edge, right? People do work. You know what I mean? Like, that's where your data is. Maybe not all of it. Maybe you have some sweet vault thing that you put all your goodies in, but at some time, that's got to come out. That they have to be able to do their job. You can't have an engineer already keying into a box doing crazy AutoCAD stuff, right? They got to be doing it live. And they're going to hit you where you're weak. So again, think about that value prop when you have your company say, okay, well, we're going to hub and smoke everything. We'll put sensors in here, and we'll put this huge box in, and we'll catch everything. But the reason we want to do network detection is because it's awesome. So packets, for the most part, they don't lie, right? So you get things, you get malware detonated, you get ideas of connections, you see activity after that initial talk. So if you have like an AD alert or host-based alert, a lot of times if they do something to that host-based tool, then you're not going to see that information. It's also a quick way to get some sort of visibility out quickly, right? So if you want to roll something out to all your desktops, let's say you have, 500,000 desktops. It's a little bit of a chore to get something out there quickly to 500,000 desktops. So by putting network protection on it, you get something quick, and it's not as interruptive as saying, okay, we're going to throw this down on everybody's machines, we're going to run some scan that's going to crush everybody's machine while it's running. You don't have to do anything. You can get some visibility. You're not going to catch everything, right? It's really important to still do the host-based stuff. It's really important to do all the different things, right? To detect all the things. It's very important, right? But doing this, gets the stuff. And then again, what we talked about host-based stuff. Host-based stuff is great on the stuff that you know, that you own. That if you think that you have this host-based stuff on every one of your machines, you don't, because they know where they are. I've heard it a million times. Oh, we're all patched. We got everything. And then somebody's machine is on. But there are problems with network detection. And one being asynchronous routing. So does anybody know why asynchronous routing is bad when you're not on any server? Right, so you really only see half of the conversation. right? So to do anything effective when it comes to snort or powder or bro, is you need to see both sides of the conversation. Encryption is pretty obvious. And then the bad guys, they know your network and they know where your detection is, right? So when we go back to that eCorp example, we would change our TTPs, right? We would top up here and we would change it. We say, okay, we've got you here. And so what they had to do is they had to reformulate a new plan, change their tools, right? Because how you attack a VPN is different than how you're attacking, doing a phishing campaign. So they know your network, they know what's going on, and if you don't think they do, it'll be surprising if you get some advanced adversaries and see what they start doing. MPLS is another problem. WAN optimization is a problem, and we'll get into these a little deeper. And this one's really important. So the network detection and the evolution of networking are in direct conflict. So what that means is there's radar device, there's all this cloud stuff, right? I've got this cloud machine, I've got all these different types of things. The regional data center kind of thing where I hit the MPLS network, and instead of going all the way from California to New York to go out the internet, I just go out the nearest aThe or Sprint POP in the MPLS cloud, right? And I had some slides on that, and it was really cool, and then I don't know what happened to it. So, asynchronous route. So this is a BGP for the most part, right? So if you have two large data centers in close proximity and they each have really big internet pipes, you're going to see asynchronous routing. And the only real way to put that together is to use some sort of load balancing device like BT101 and to transport it across there to get that no asynchronous. You're going to run into this no matter what. If you have a large network, you've got two data centers. The whole point of BGP is to remove some of that congestion and things like that. But you should be doing it to improve performance on your network or reducing cost, right? Let's say you have two internet connections. You have one to, let's say, aThe, and then you've got one to Cogent, right? And your Cogent one's really cheap, and your aThe one is really expensive. So what you do is you use BGP weighting. You weight that Cogent connection to be heavier, right? So you want everything to go out or come in for your AS on that. Well, the challenge there is if I'm on the Sprint or aThe, so if you're on the aThe network and you go to our site, you're gonna come across the aThe connection. But if you're on Comcast, there's a chance that if you come in on that aThe, that hey, it doesn't really matter. So I'll use waiting, I'll go out the Cogent, or I might come in the Cogent and out it can change. But it's important for how the internet works. It sucks though when you're trying to do detection. So, our good buddy encryption. I won't spend too much time on this slide, but there's not much you can do. There's a lot of things. So what we would do is a lot of times we would do we would re-terminate the encryption like on an F5s, and then we put our sensors behind the F5s, and then we have a web server farm, right? So there are some things you can do. There's some man-in-the-middle stuff. Lots of people probably work at large companies. You're probably being man-in-the-middle. So whenever you go to your bank account or things like that, they're seeing that stuff. So let's talk about MPLS teams. So MPLS wants to use it the right way. I'm still bummed about my English line. So the challenge with MPLS detection is, let's say site 1 in this example is California, and site 2 is Arizona, and site 3 is my headquarters in New York. So what MPLS is supposed to do is say, you come out and say, oh, well, you know what, I'm in California, and it's speeding faster for me just to go directly to site 2 because, hey, that's where, that's the closest path. But what we do is we say, okay, well, we need to get everything coming centrally to our data center so we can put this big sensor on there and monitor everything going on. So now we created this latency. So to get to site 2 from site 1, you have to go through site 3. Well, that's great from a monitoring perspective, but from a network performance perspective, it kind of stinks, right? Because that's what the network team gets measured on. They've got some app that requires low latency, but you have your detection requirements, and you've got to see what you got to see. So that's a problem for what we do. WAN optimization. Does anybody know why WAN optimization makes your traffic or messes with your ability to monitor traffic.
It does all kinds. It does all kinds of data duplication. You have traffic that disappears.
Right, exactly. So what happens in WAN optimization, let's say you have a 100 gig file that a bunch of engineering drawings or something, and you want to copy that from New York to California. So what happens is that first time it gets copied, every bit of that data goes across there. The next time they go, so that the user guys go sit next to the guy who's down, I want to download that too. Well, you click it, and all that stuff is in the sort of the cache that's in both sides. And then it sends a few packets and says, hey, I recognize this. Guess what? You don't have to spend all that traffic over. It'll send some stuff, but it's not the whole thing. Well, I determined later on that there's some malicious stuff in that 100 gig file. You know, we analyzed it and said, this is bad. We want to know anytime we see this file transferred across there. The problem is my monitoring at my gateway doesn't see that traffic ever again because it's been optimized. So what you have to do is put sensors on the unoptimized side. So that's even more detection. Right now, I got this big whiz-bang sensor on my gateway, and then I got this WAN up farm, so I got that sensor over there. So it starts getting really complicated. So I've been telling you why this stuff, why detection is hard. So what we need to do is sort of flip this on its head, so to speak. So I'm going to talk about whiz-bangery. What I call whiz-bangery is we've got this tool, we've got this something or other that you can put in, and everything's going to be awesome, right? Well, we talked about choke points before that, how they're, I want to go from California to Arizona. I don't want to come through New York, but the problem is I'm blind when I do that. But I have indicators on my sensors, right? You talk about Intel frameworks and all these kinds of different things. If that information is good enough for my sensors, why isn't it good enough for everything else that I have, right? And flexibility, and the reason I got young down here, and for the youngins here, that's like an old claymation type cartoon that you could stretch. So, but anyway, so that's when I design security or monitoring solutions for people. It's all about flexibility. You don't know what the bad guy's going to do tomorrow. I don't know what the bad guy's going to do tomorrow. If I did, I'd be sitting in Silicon Valley in my mansion and just, take it back and create martinis or something, right? So nobody knows what's going to happen. So you have to be able to change on a dime. You have to be able to say, they're doing this, we're losing money, I know a way to detect them, I need to get it out there now. And that's very, very important. So there's no shiny creme. So I'll ask you here. There's no shiny creme base. There's nothing out there that's going to stop everything. Or limit everything, really. So how do we fix this, right? We need to go where the users are, right? Because that's what the bad guys do. I'm not going to sit there. If you look at a lot of the attacks, they're phishing attacks, they're attacks on people, and those people have data. And, think of it from a lot of people talk about, I saw 800 terabytes fly out of my environment, so I know something bad happened. Well, think about it from a sales guy perspective. Let's say you're a sales guy or a saleswoman, and you're working on a quote for some, let's say, I don't know, some water reactor kind of thing. So just something horribly expensive, right? So some country wants to buy this from you. They're putting out bids. Well, in America, we have corporate companies that do this. They say, hey, we will build this whiz-bang crazy thing for you, and it'll cost this much. And then we have other countries that are, those companies are nationally sponsored. They're nation-state companies. So they use their nation-state resources to attack, let's say, Bob Smith, who's the sales guy, right? And now they have Bob Smith, who's running the show, right? They went to the website and found out who Bob Smith was, that he was the sales guy, right? And they went and they say, I want to see what they're offering so I can go under that, right? And that's a Word doc. Or an Excel spreadsheet, right? So it's not something that's obvious, but there's real, tangible dollars associated with that thing. You lost that deal because that nation state or maybe corporate espionage or something like that said, I want to know what they're doing. So what this means is we have to distribute our attention, right? We've got to go closer to the users. The days of we put everything all in one spot, we put this 400 gig box that can do all these things there, we need to spread out. So we're going to steal some stuff that we do with this distributed computing. So introducing the double-decker couch. So use sensors for the resources, right? So think low power devices, think think a lot of things. Pull as much detection. You should never need ever again an atomic indicator on your sensor. Your sensor should be generating data because you want to centralize your data, not your sensors, right? So you say, okay, I have my horsepower in my data center. I can easily. Has anybody ever tried to get a server into Brazil? Well, you guys don't count. So it takes months to get a server in Brazil. So let's say you have a site in Brazil. I'm sure it has armed guards because that's just how they do it down there. And you need some more detection, right? They upgrade your bandwidth, there's something going on, you need to get some. It's going to take you 2 or 3 months to get stuff down there. If I want more resources in my data center, I call somebody up, or you're using the cloud, you click some buttons, and I need to have those resources. So, and these things also need to be expendable. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But you should be able to run on whatever you have. So in the case of, say, Brazil, you have an extra workstation down there, right? Maybe they don't have a big pipe. You should be able to use that in a pinch, right? You should be like, I need to use this, right? You're not going to get a vendor solution there quickly in Brazil. And it should be managed as a single device. Why do I have to treat these things like complicated devices? And this is when we talk about scale. This is how we're able to scale to 1,500 sensors and beyond. So again, we want to do this by making our sensors dumb. And we do that by taking as much off possible, as much off. You still have to do your DPAC inspection on there, so you're going to have some of that stuff right there. But again, IP indicators, domain names, all this kind of are very expensive rules on a sensor. I know that the IP reputation stuff has come out, and they say, oh, it's a lot better. But when you have a Raspberry Pi, right, those things change from the standpoint of what you're trying to send. So, and again, what we talked about before is that if I know IP 1.2 is bad, I want to see that in my firewall logs. I want to see that in my mail logs. I want to see, I want to see that just not there. So I need to pull that back, right? And they're there to provide the data, right? And we, use low power devices. So how does this look when you want to do this on scale? So I prefer to use Salt. There's Puppet, there's Chef, there's Ansible, there's all kinds of different tools out there to do these things. Salt is open source. The way I've chosen to deploy it is putting all the code in GitHub, right? So when we manage our sensors, we manage them out of GitHub. We don't necessarily have to log into these devices to do anything. And the good part about GitHub is you have your PCI stuff, you have your change control. If somebody rolls out something to a sensor and breaks something, you know what that thing was and you know who to troll, right? So those are the importance of having the GitHub piece. And then you have a master, and this is where the scalability happens. So you have these mini masters. So I can have 1,000 mini masters talking to 1,000 minions each, because that's how it scales. It scales completely horizontally. And this actually works, right? So, like I said, I'm doing about 1,500 sensors right now with using that. But they're there to do work for their masters. So the minions, you can develop a time in which they check in. So they check in, they check for new work. So do I have a new row policy I need to do? Oh, there's a new package I need to update. Oh, that's what it does. And you can say, every 15 minutes check in and do this. And this allows you to have a single configuration for 1,000 devices. So this is just a video of how a sensor gets built. So on the right side is the, and I know it's kind of small. The right side is a minion, and the left side is a master. What I'm doing right now is I'm just checking it in and saying, hey, I'm here. It uses a key-based authentication. So I have to accept that. So I think that's what I'm doing. Yeah, so I see it in my keys. I'm going to go ahead and accept that key. I did it so I didn't do live and mess something up. So then I'm going over to the minion. I'm going to show you that, hey, bro's not installed. And then I'm going to have to check in. And so yeah, bro's not running, bro's not installed. Yeah, I'll show the packages in there. But the important part is that I can do this from, I can do this from a remote access place, right? I can do this over an IP or something like that. So I'm going to check it in, and now it's saying I went from a minimal install CentOS, and now it's going to make it a sensor in my environment all at once. So that's basically what's happening here. And I won't, let the demo go through all of it, but it just goes into build the sensor. So it's important is that it makes these devices throwaway, right? So I can, if I'm troubleshooting a machine and I spend longer than 15 minutes, just rebuild it, right? Because I've got all the information already. I don't need to figure out why this is happening or that's happening. I've got 1,800, 1,700, 1,900 sensors. I don't have time to spend 3 hours trying to rebuild this box in a state. Just rebuild it and it's back, right? So I talk about pulling all this detection off and all that's great, right? That's neat. But then how do I detect stuff if I don't have any atomic indicators in the boxes? And so what we do is we break things into a service-based architecture. And that makes us able to scale these things. So I worked at a company where we had a time where it was we pay all these different Intel sources, all this money. We want to detect all the things, right? So we've got 5 million Intel indicators. We need to check all these IPs. Well, it doesn't scale on a sensor. Think a machine that's pretty much overloaded, and it's not going to do that. Again, we force the data instead of devices, and put the hardware where we need it. So we do PubSub. So it's the PubSub to the rescue. So we ship our bro logs. We make subscribers process those log files, and that gives us the ability to lose time instead of losing packets, right? So when you throw a bunch of rules on something, it's going to crash the sensor. You're going to lose traffic. You're going to lose packets. But when you have a service-based architecture, it just gets backed up. So here's just a sample architecture. So we have log ingest, we have RabbitMQ. So we use what's called a fan-out in that environment. And we break it to different services, so a rule service, an indexing service, and an archival service. So what I said before is if it's good enough for the sensors, why is it good enough for everything else? So we can use it for logs too. So we get IP addresses not just in the bro comm log, but we get it in proxy logs and firewall logs, etc. We get URLs and proxy logs, and we get domains and domain logs. And there's a great pitch on this from a B-Sides Augusta in 2013 from Dave Bianco. So I recommend checking it out. He talks about enterprise security management. So what did we improve? We talked about all these different things. We talked about how there's different problems, et cetera, et cetera. Well, now we can use MPLS the way it was intended because we've got sensors where the users are. So now, when California wants to talk to Arizona, I see everything coming out of California, and I see everything coming in and out of Arizona. I don't need to ship it all the way back up. I don't need to do this kind of thing. Asynchronous is not as bad of a problem now, because typically at your site you're not going to have multiple WAN connections. You might have an active and a backup, but you're not going to have an active where you're doing things in different routers and things like that. It's just too expensive. You can get it before it's optimized, and it gives you more eyes and more places to detect lateral movement. So, that's very important. So, before I get to the questions, one thing that's important when you think about how we have to do this and how we have to react is that we need to stay with the flexibility one. We have to be able to be flexible, and by having things out of the users, we can be that. We can get that flexibility. So that's really what I wanted to leave you with, is that there's always crazy kinds of tools. There's always crazy things that you can do, but by having that flexibility, it gives you the ability to roll out new detection. So, is there any questions?
So one of the problems that I'm seeing is we have more and more virtualized machines with virtual networks, and that's even going down to the desktops being PDIs. What's the strategy to get all of this traffic?
So there are some virtual switching now that they're offering, some ways of port mirroring, things like that. The challenge is a lot of this. The challenge is there's a lot of doing NSM. If you're doing full NSM, takes a lot of I/O, which takes a lot of resources away from your virtual server. But there are ways to do it. So we do have cases where we do install on, again, because it's an ISO, we install on virtual machines like a VMware box, and we're able to get feeds from, you can put some of the networks in promiscuous, so that's one way to get it. But it is a challenge, right? Especially when you talk to cloud and things like that, where you don't get the traffic. So again, you're going to still need host-based tools and things of that nature. So there's a question right here.
Yeah, so one of the problems I face is that decentralized sensors and those types of solutions, they still ask for log aggregation to occur before analysis. So you take all those logs, you pull them back, and then you look through them. But what are some suggestions on maybe a centralized analysis or query model that can be used with a decentralized sensor?
So,
I don't know, sub or something.
Yeah. So when I talk about that, so there's a lot of people use Kibana and Elasticsearch, right? So and Logstash, so the elk stack, that's an option. It depends on how many events. It gets a little crazy when you talk lots of events, but the elk stack works. ELSA. You can create different tools to bring those in a stream. So you bring those events in as a stream, and as you bring those events in, you can analyze and take care of them. So my suggestion would be get Logstash and Elk going, and then you can put like Redis, you can put all kinds of things. There's plugins all over that you can grab that information and do something with it, right? So you can, that fan I was talking about, that means I send a copy to multiple services. So you could have a rule service and something doing indexing, side by side.
I'm sorry, just to follow
Sure.
on. That still is aggregating
Right.
those alerts before you...
Well, it's aggregating the data.
Right, so I'm asking, as an analyst, how do I think of or conceptualize a query and have that go out to the sensors and only,
Right, so we're not querying the sensors, we're going to query the data that's already been pulled back from the sensors. So the sensors are just sending data. They're not really doing any detection, so to speak, for the most part on the sensors. It's sending the data to where you have your centralized intellectual, which are for IPs and your rules and things like that. So, and you want to use compression and things like that to pull those logs back. But that's that's sort of the gist, is that I want to centralize that data and then do stuff to it instead of asking these sensors to do all these different things when they should just be sensing and sending the data. Any other questions?
How do you deal with the clients when you go to you talk about using open source these activities? How do you deal with that?
That hasn't been too much of a problem lately. Everybody knows that there's a lot of different open source tools. As long as you have the legal stuff worked out with your legal team, as far as we don't make any modifications to any of the software that we roll out. It's just the standard stuff. So work with your legal team though before you do things like that. But from a customer perspective, they're very receptive. They're really, when you put one of these devices out there and they start getting the data and seeing it, they don't care if it's open source or whatever it is they're getting. They want that information. They get addicted to that information. So it's once you have that visibility, you don't lose it again.
I'm not very familiar with this, and it sounds like most of this is generating logs and then centralizing log data.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever use an eventing type of architecture where you use a REST-based interface where the sensors are sending web requests back, or just sending events or what they're detecting?
So, typically,
Intelligence.
yeah, so we typically use syslog as the transport method, and then compressing that. There's a million ways to do it. I think that's the best way I can put it. That there's just, it's so greenfield, but the Elk stack has a lot of things that are plugins that you can use to grab that, to get that into that centralized database. And then if you use things like Redis or RabbitMQ, you can fan out to other services that can, you can run a Python thing that grabs out there and does, your PCRE, your IP lookups and things like that.
For those sensors, are they also a tap, or do you require a tap for every single one of them?
Well, no, so they're not a tap. So these aren't inline devices. These are just boxes, right? So you're going to need taps or spans or whatever you want to use to grab that traffic. These are just the devices that get this stuff. So yeah, that's a whole different thing, right? So at a company I worked at, we had like 900 taps. And it gets pretty pretty cumbersome. But yeah, you can use spans, although I don't recommend spans, but they work. So it's better than nothing. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, thank you very much.